Hello and welcome. You're watching Republic TV and this is a brand new episode of World of Brands. So today the brand that we are featuring is that someone that defines the cinema in India. With over 1752 screens across 359 cities and having a sitting capacity of 3.62 lakh, defines the entertainment in India as well. As audiences evolve, how PVR Inox as a brand is trying to shape the future of entertainment. And to speak on that and talk about it, we are joined in by a very special guest, Mr. Gautam Dutta, who is CEO, Operations and Revenue. Thank you, Mr. Dutta, for joining us on this episode of World of Brands. I was going through your LinkedIn profile and I saw that 6 months back you shared a post that was a McKinsey report in which the report was talking about the VUCA world. And that post said that traditional strategies are not effective anymore and they should be reshaping and rethinking of those strategies. I just want to ask you, as far as PVR Inox is concerned, what is the change in the strategy as far as marketing, campaigns and branding is concerned?
See, marketing, what is marketing? If you were to sort of see the literal meaning of marketing, it would say any activity that precedes sales is marketing. So marketing, in my view, is not just about campaigns and pure branding as we used to call it in old days. It is a whole lot of other things, and we've realized it because we are peddling an experiential brand. For us, marketing goes far beyond just marketing the film, marketing the experiences, but also to shape habits in a certain manner. So anything which goes on to irrigate and nourish this whole regime of consumers coming back to a cinema. Right. Their love for this whole entertainment space is what we call marketing. So for us, marketing is kind of multi-directional. We look at, of course, campaigns, we look at movie marketing, we look at LAM activities, and then a whole lot of marketing effort is put on how our staff in cinemas sort of treat consumer, because that's also marketing. That's the biggest edge today you have. Right. Because consumers, when they step out, they want a great experience, and that experience is so much a part of marketing, because you can say anything in an ad, but when the rubber hits the road, as they say, and we are an experiential brand, we can't get away with that.
Exactly.
So when consumers get in, they need a absolutely frictionless experience and a smooth experience at the cinema, and that's what we are all sort of working on.
Right. And I was going through the timeline of the company, and I'm sure you have completed 19 years working with PVR Inox now. You started in 1991, you opened the first PVR in Anupam in 1997, made a debut on the Lal Street in 2006, acquiring major stake in 4700 BC Popcorn, and then there was an unprecedented crisis in 2020 during the pandemic. I just want to ask you, how did you navigate the tough and the critical time of pandemic through the campaigns? Because I am seeing that you had a campaign, Fresh Dekho, Bada Dekho. You had a campaign, Bada Dekho, Saath Dekho. You had collaboration with Ori under the campaign of Original. Tell me, which is the most important campaign and that sort of changed the journey of the company?
So the journey of the company, unfortunately, was not resting so much on campaigns, but as you rightly said, we in our conversations internally, we say pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. Pre-pandemic, everything was going well for the business. There was a certain habit, there was a certain inflow of movies and consumers that got completely disrupted. Once that got disrupted, we needed to go back to our consumers. Number one, we needed to study and understand what the consumers are feeling, what happened in their lives over those 24 months. We understood that, and that's when we realized that everybody had started to look down, and had started to look down small on a small screen. So the first campaign we did was Bada Dekho or Upar Dekho. That was the first one. So this whole thing about Dekho, fresh Dekho, Bada Dekho. We kept going with this whole tagline of looking at consumer challenges today. And universally, every consumer we went to and spoke to said a cinema experience is just brilliant. It's out of the world. You cannot compare it to anything else that I get to see. It was just a matter of habit, and hence we needed to rekindle that love affair that consumers had with the cinema. So it was very important to keep reminding them of what they were missing, and something that they were also granting to the brand and the category, to say, I love movies, I love cinemas, and I love the fact that you have this entire grandeur to the cinema experience. So we just needed to rekindle that and ensure that we keep reminding consumers of what they were missing. And that's where this fresh dekho, bada dekho, fresh dekho, upar dekho, bada dekho, saath dekho, and that Pankaj Tripathi campaign and Ori, I think was actually the pivot of the two campaigns, because Pankaj Tripathi, being an OTT star, the way he came out and kind of delivered that message was just beautiful, in the sense it resonated with a whole lot of consumers who had experienced cinema in a certain manner. And then came Ori. Ori was really the icon of the youth, and he spoke in that language. He kind of resonated with the youth, and both these campaigns, I thought, merged well with the two different age groups that we had.
Right. And since we are talking about the campaigns, you also had a campaign, What is Your Love Language? And many other campaigns I was going through. Which campaign translated for you as far as uptick in the footfall at your outlets are concerned? Which campaign did best for you?
So honestly, this fresh dekho, bada dekho was really the campaign that resonated with the consumers. But in our business, you must always remember, even when you have convinced them of the cinema as a proposition, consumers keep sort of looking for the content that kind of vibes with them. And that's one of the reasons why the big have become really, really big. Look at what happened with Chava. Look at what happened with Stree. Look at with some of the bigger films, the kind of peaks that the new films are getting. Look at Pushpa, for instance. Huge, colossal. Nobody would have ever thought that such a character could do such kind of business in North. And the fact that the campaign had resonated, opened them up, making them salivate and wanting to go to the cinema. All it needed was content that started to meet their expectation, and that's where the footfall started to come.
Right. What are your next campaigns? Which campaigns are in pipeline that you're working diligently and working upon it? And also I want to ask you, because the consumers' psyche is also changing, the consumption of content and the mediums are rapidly changing. So that you have to reshape your strategy in that way. People are consuming content in form of shorts. As far as YouTube is concerned, people are consuming in form of reels. How are you targeting that segment through these kind of a new mediums?
See, because I'm a fairly old school advertising stroke marketing guy, and we were always taught that in marketing, what is most important is what you wish to communicate. Where and how comes much later. So I think one of the lessons that a lot of young marketeers today skip is what to say. And I and my entire team works diligently on finalizing and working on what to say. How do you get to what to say? Simple. Keep in touch with the consumer, have your research. Our cinema managers who cater to roughly about 150, 160 million people coming into our cinemas, our huge loyalty base. Those are the kind of consumers that we are talking to. We also have list of people who've churned out. We have list of people who've stopped coming. We have list of people who are coming to us 40 times a year. And we have list of people who come, say, 8 times a year. Now, we've got these cohorts made. We constantly keep talking to know exactly what's happening through their process. And then once you made that content, how they consume and where they consume, there are enough and more expertise today. They will tell you that if you have your target audience well defined, these media companies are so good today that they will be able to sharp focus on that and deliver you that result. So to my mind, as a marketing and advertising guy, for anyone, not just us, but anyone, if you're clear on what to say, I would say 70% of your job is done. And that's what we sort of focus on largely.
So as far as I talk about the Fresh Dekho Bada Dekho, I just want to talk about the messaging that you have in this campaign is also sort of to target the OTT, which is emerging as a tough competition for multiplexes and PVR Inox. So is this the messaging that you're trying to deliver, that OTT and targeting OTTs for that matter?
Not really, because honestly, when you use the word target, you believe that you will cut your competition out of people who are watching OTT. That would never be the case. OTT and cinemas have to survive together. It's a very different audience, it's a very different mindset, and it's a very different experience. All we are trying to sort of accentuate is the difference and what you lose when you consume a content on a smaller screen, the end. So we are not targeting OTT at all. We do realize that there are some inherent benefits that OTT always delivers, and we cannot fight those benefits. But there is also clear USPs that cinemas have, and it's not because what we are saying, it's exactly what the consumer is resonating today, to saying, well, if I have a celebration, I'll go to a cinema. If there's an event film, I'll go to the cinema. If there's a movie which needs my attentive watching, I'll go to the cinema. If I have the time, I'll go to the cinema. So for everything it's cinema, but because OTT is lurking around, or even on iPads and mobile phones, they're saying, actually this was consumer verbatim saying, I just sort of go through the notion of watching a content, but I don't really enjoy the content. So if I need to skip through a content, I will go through on a mobile, on an iPad, or on a TV. But technically, if I have to really sort of soak in and enjoy, then cinema is my obvious choice. So we are not targeting them. We are just sort of teasing and salivating the consumer to know that what cinema offers, and that's the place to watch. And these are all coming out of core insights that the consumers have resonated to us.
Right. And what are the campaigns that are in pipeline? Let's talk about that.
Lots of them as extension to Fresh Dekho, Bada Dekho, Upar Dekho. Now there is one campaign that we are working on, which will be released very shortly in a couple of months, is Fresh Dekho, Saath Dekho, is Weekend Pe Dekho. We are again reminding people that if there is a weekend, it always used to be PVR Inox. So technically, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where else would you go but to a cinema? So where else would you go is again making it very, very obvious. So of course you have to be at the cinema. So this is Mr. Bijli's idea, and when we keep talking to consumers, looking at, and he came up with this great insight of saying, it is so obvious, because when I meet my set of friends, they said, weekend always meant that we'll get to the cinema. And whenever we call these special screening and call our guests there, they say, oh, we must do this more often. It's so much fun to get to a cinema and watch a film at the cinema. So I think we are targeting consumer from all ends, whether it's a small screen, whether it's experiential, whether it's about sort of reigniting that habit of going to the cinema in all possible ways. And at the crux of it is saying content or no content. A content gets better. So there was also a campaign that we just released which says a film is say maybe 2 stars when you watch it on an iPad, and it becomes 3.5 stars when you watch it in cinema. The same content starts to look so much better when you watch it. So which again sort of highlights the point that it's the experience, the environment. And if you remember that Amir Khan commercial that we came up with, which says, "Is andheri mein bahut roshni hai." Where else do you get this kind of color, this kind of joy in darkness? Darkness is always associated with fear, with being alone, with being depressive.
Right.
Cinema is the only place where you embrace and celebrate darkness, because the moment the lights go off, your excitement goes up. And you say, wow, the movie is stuck.
Right. I just want to understand from you, as far as these campaigns are concerned, how much effort goes into these campaigns and to just zero in the messaging, and what is the process looks like of figuring out that we have to catch the theme and this pulse to make the campaign? What are the levels? What is the thought process that goes into it?
It's a very, at one level, it's a very regimented approach, and on the other, it's something that it's very collaborative. So today we've got our promoters who are really entrenched into this business. They are meeting people, having these deep conversations. Their entire family, the new kids on the block, Niharika, Amir, Naina, they are the ones who are kind of going out and giving us very interesting insights, because they are the young kids who've come up with absolutely fresh ideas, and then coupled with some of the consumer research that we are doing. So as a practice, every week we get together for a cup of coffee and we just discuss some data, numbers, trends, analysis, and believe me, it's not as if that we've cracked the code. Every time a new insight comes through, and we believe that what is kind of big enough to build a campaign on. So once we get some sort of a clarity on an idea, we quickly go back to consumers to test out that idea. We've got a fantastic set of creative partners who've been with us for last 18 years. They are I would say one of the best in the industry today. People who have very deep understanding of what this category is about. And again, a very old school thought, but when you have your partners, business partners, working with you, entrenched with you over a long period of time, they are truly invested in your business. They're not coming to you with just bland creative ideas or an idea that will win them an award. They come to you with ideas that will impact business. And as I said in my first opening statement, marketing is an activity that precedes sales. So they understand the ethos, they understand where the company is, right. What are we dealing with, what do we want. So we have this great partnership within, outside, and with the consumer. I think this sort of three pivot points is really, when they come together, it is then intuitively I think we do pick up. The last bit I would say is more sort of the magic, if I could use the word, that comes when when we start discussing ideas. You say, okay, this sounds great, and at some point in time you have to take that leap of faith to say, hey, I understand and I know what my consumer would like. As I said, we've got this fantastic young team now, which is kind of looking at marketing and very passionate about that piece. So we are able to catch on. Like Ori was completely Amir's, Niharika and Naina's idea, because honestly I wasn't following Ori. I didn't even know that he could be that impactful with that audience, and I stepped into it with caution. But and I only focused on one thing. And sometimes when you relay this, when you play as a relay team, to say, hey, these guys understand that, I will allow them to sort of take that over. I will just focus and help them to focus on what to say. So I just looked at the pivot points of what to say. Niharika, who has a great learning and background to filmmaking, she then chiseled the thing, made it more young, youthful, relatable, and then of course Ori took over, and then a great campaign came out. And then what was even wonderful, and something that I hadn't seen and I truly and openly admire, is where Ori not just gave us those films, but said, I will play a very active role in defining where and how this campaign will roll out, which was so unique. I had no idea that someone who kind of technically acts in the film would also have such a strong point of view. And believe me, some of the ideas that were discussed by him and Amir and Niharika were just bang on, and the impact was just incredible. In the first week itself, we got over 20 million people seeing that campaign, and kind of interact. The kind of engagement we got was just phenomenal. So I think that's how I feel. Sometimes when you're talking to a certain audience, it's best the young takes over and adds that lingo to it. The Pankaj Tripathi one, for instance, deals with my age, so I kind of took over on that end. But the fact is, as we move forward, we've got this beautiful cohort of people now, whether it's young, whether it's slightly older, we know the nuances, and consumers, of course, whenever you in doubt, go to them and test out your hypotheses. We don't ever ask them. Never ask a consumer what he wants, because he won't know. But what you can do is to test, saying, do you like this or do you like this? That he can tell you. A lot of companies make this cardinal mistake and going to asking consumers, what do you want? Consumers can't tell us what they would want, but they can choose which one they prefer, and that's the thing that we use.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dutta. It was a very enriching conversation talking about the trends of entertainment, cinema, and what PVR Inox will have in store for their customers going forward. Thank you so much for sparing time out and speaking to Republic Media Network.
Thank you so much. Thanks.